Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am the teacher, Bronwyn Slate. Unfortunately, this week you cannot participate live as our studio is under some construction and you can't call in. So this lesson is pre-recorded, though we are broadcasting on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. Usually you will be able to join live through the Zoom link or call into the Wahsa studio to ask questions, but for this week, that is not a possibility. Still, how to know how to join the Zoom class with a link when it is available. So you should have a link that's provided from your DEC or from me, your teacher, to join the class. So you just click on that link and then a screen will pop up and you then choose to join with the computer audio. Then you will get a message that says the class will be recorded. So you click got it, as all of our classes are recorded. So I can upload them onto YouTube to share with other students, and so you can refer to them again. I don't expect students to share their videos, so if you do join on Zoom to watch and ask questions, I encourage you not to share your video just so that your privacy is respected. Then on the bottom left hand side of your screen, you can click the video and microphone icons to turn them on or off. You also might have a little headset, which is what my image is, as I'm wearing headsets for the audio. And again, I encourage you to not have your video on. I don't have my video on. It just means that we don't have as much going on the screen and respects folks' privacies. And I ask you to keep yourself muted unless you are asking a question. Then to leave the class, you can click on End, which is at the bottom of the right-hand screen. If you get kicked out, you can rejoin the class. That's fine. If you leave, you can rejoin the class at a later time during the session. That's totally fine. You don't need to actually end if you need to step away from your computer, as you're muted and your video is off, so we won't actually know if you're at the screen or not. So no need to end if you need to step away and return. That is totally fine as well. All right, I just also want to go through how to get subtitles, if that is something that would be useful for you. So if you're in full screen mode for Zoom, you have this menu along the bottom of your screen, and you have an icon that says show captions, like a CC button. So you just click on that and captions should then work. If you have captions selected and you prefer not to have captions selected, you can also click, if the captions are showing, then you click, it will say hide captions. So you can click that to hide them, whatever works best for you. Unfortunately, the captions most likely won't get everything that I'm saying exactly. I know I speak quickly, there's lots to jam in, and I might not enunciate as well as the caption settings would like. So I apologize for that if things aren't aligning as best as they could be. If you have your Zoom in a small screen, it looks slightly different. You have to click on these three dots, that the More menu, and then click on Captions. Then the screen will change. The little window, you can then click on Show Captions if you'd like to show captions, or it'll say Hide Captions if you would like to hide the captions. So again, this is going to be depending on what your screen looks like. It'll be a little bit different depending on what your needs are. I'd like to go over the difference between Radio Zoom and IL courses, as this is something that can be kind of confusing. So first, they are the same because the course material, the evaluations, and resources are all the same, whether you are registered in the Radio Zoom class or in the IL course, the independent learning course. Nothing is different in terms of the actual course material and process. Anyone is welcome to listen and participate in the Radio Zoom classes. You don't just have to be registered in the Radio Zoom course. You're still welcome to join us. And all of our lessons are recorded and posted onto YouTube shortly after airing. So this is something that everyone has access to, whether or not which version of the course you were registered in. So then how are they different? The Radio Zoom has a schedule of 4 terms per the year, and the classes run for 9 weeks. So during sessions, I explain the course concepts and show examples working through all 20 lessons, but those are spread out over those 9 weeks, and we start at the beginning and work through up to the whole 20 lessons. The IL courses, on the other hand, are open from the start of the year to the end of the school year, and students are welcome to start and finish those courses at any time, opposed to following along day by day like you can at the Radio Zoom class. So you can finish them any time between September 6th, 2022 and June 16th, 2023 for this year. If you're registered in the Radio Zoom class, the idea is that you are following along and handing material in at the same pace as we're going through week by week, and that you complete your full credit during that 9-week course. There is a potential to roll your course over if you don't finish it within those 9 weeks, but that's something to have a conversation with us directly to figure out what would work best for you. But that's really how they are different. All right, our Radio Zoom schedule is Monday through Thursday from 9 until 10 in the morning. And we are in our first week of our 9-week course. So you know what to work to submit for marking as we go along. The support questions, the ones with a little pencil icon, are not for marking. You can decide which ones and how many to do. If you understand a concept, feel free to skip questions. That is totally fine. You don't have to do them all just because they are there. If you're struggling with concepts and you'd like more practice, please ask for more practice, and I'm happy to send you some. I also can support you working through questions if you need help. Ask questions so I can help you. The key questions, the ones with the little key icon, are the ones to submit for marking. So these ones, you need to do all the questions. You need to show all of your work, your steps, your thinking, so that I can understand what it is that you understand. And if you are making errors, I can help figure out where those errors are coming from and hopefully improve your understanding. So then how do you submit your work for marking? Well, there's 3 methods. The first method is to scan and send your work electronically. You can scan your completed work through a device. If you have an Apple device, the Notes app has a scan function, and if you have an Android device, the Google Drive app has a scan function. These are free apps that generally come with these devices, and so are already on them and are fairly straightforward to use. If you need some support learning how to do that, I have videos on my YouTube channel that walk you through step by step how to use both these individual apps. They're under my playlist called the Tech Tutorials, and you can follow there along to learn how to do that. Once you have it scanned, you can then send it either by email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can send it through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. A quick moment of recognizing why I'm suggesting scanning versus just taking a picture. You can take a picture if that is what works best for you. If that's the only option that you have, that's fine. But if you scan using an app on your phone, it means that it's easier to create one file with all your pages so we don't lose anything. It's faster because it simplifies the image, and that makes it a smaller file, which is easier to send. This is why I encourage scanning, but again, if that doesn't work for you and you need to take pictures, if that's the best way for you to send work electronically, that is okay. If you want to learn how to scan with your smartphone, with your device, I'm happy also to walk you through that and to support you if watching the videos isn't a great option for you, just let me know. I'm happy to support however I can. All right, so our second method is to drop off your work in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our location 74 Front Street. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. So just put your work in there and we'll get it back to you as soon as possible. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Students are also welcome to hand in their work by fax if that's something you have access to. We just ask that you give us a call or send me a message to let us know that you have sent a fax, as we've had some instances where things get faxed, but they don't get received. So we want to make sure that we get your work. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B Slate Wahsa. You can friend me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then every time I upload one of our Radio Zoom classes videos, you will get a notification so that you know it is there. It's easy to find. As I've said, all of our Radio Zoom classes are recorded and posted to YouTube shortly after broadcasting. So everything is there for you to find as accessible as possible. Also, on my channel, there are short videos that explain common errors and confusing concepts. So this is a really good place to go if you are struggling with something, or if you're feel like you're missing a piece that isn't necessarily a new concept, but is something that you've struggled with in the past. There might be something there on my YouTube channel that addresses this and just makes it a little bit easier to find that help opposed to doing a general online search. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. Listening to me only on the radio is not going to give you the full experience, and things most likely will not make as much sense as if you access the videos and see what I am talking about on the screen. If you cannot join me live through Radio Zoom, if you cannot access the YouTube videos, you don't have reliable internet, so those are not options, let me know and I'm happy to send you a copy of all of our recordings so that you still can get the full experience and set yourself up for the most success. If any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My primary focus in my position is to support you, my students. You can send me an email at bronwyn.slate, that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook, where my name is B Slate Wahsa. B Slate is all one word, second word Wahsa. Give me a call at the office at 807-737-1488 or toll-free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., though I teach from 9 until 11, so that's not a great time to try to get a hold of me.
So we are going to be talking about lesson 1 today in your IL booklet, which is earning an income. So our learning goals for this lesson are that at the end of this lesson, you can say, I can calculate annual salaries based on different pay periods. I can calculate piecework and determine its advantages and disadvantages. And I can explain where to find a job advertisement and how to interpret them, or interpret it, I guess. All right, your success criteria. So you know you've met these learning goals because 1, I can figure out my pay if I know the yearly salary and pay schedule, monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. 2, I can explain why I might want to do or why I might not want to do piecework. And 3, I can find job advertisements and explain all the important parts. It's all good if that doesn't all make sense to you right now. That is what we're learning about in this lesson. All right, so first, before we dive into the actual hardcore content of our work, we're going to do some brain activation, which includes some mental math. So I don't know if folks remember, but I experienced mad math minutes when I was in elementary school, where we all had to sit in our desks and it was quiet. There was a timer on for a minute and we had a piece of paper in front of us and a pencil, and it had math facts, multiplication or addition, subtraction, usually not division too much, but sometimes, and we had to do as many as we could in a minute. And in theory, we would get better over time. Well, this stressed me out, and other people I know stressed a lot of people out. So instead of doing that, it just really creates anxiety. It doesn't actually create skills. So instead of doing that, what I focus on and I want people to work on are building concrete strategies that you can use in different situations. So being able to do mental math and arithmetic is really, really important. It really, being comfortable with numbers is really important in our world in general. So I think that's an important skill, but memorization isn't necessarily the way, and drill and killing, as we like to call it sometimes, isn't necessarily the way to do that. So every day, every lesson, we're going to do some sort of math fact and work on a strategy that hopefully we can use in different situations that is helpful opposed to just stressful. So today's math fact is +8, and we're going to, this is what I call friendly numbers. So using the strategy of friendly numbers. So what that means is when I look at this, when I look at 13 + 8, this isn't a fact that I have memorized, but I want to make these into one of these numbers at least into a friendly number. 8 is really close to 10. So what I want to do is I want to take, in my brain, what I do is I'm going to steal 2 away from 13 and add it over here to my 8 to make 10. And when I steal that 13 away from my, when I steal 2 away from 13, I end up with 11. So now when I look at 11 + 10, that equals 21. Those are friendly numbers for me because it's 10. I know that 10 + 11 is 21. That's really accessible for me. And so now I can look and say, okay, well, that means that 13 + 8 is also 21. And that's what I mean by friendly numbers and using strategies that are accessible and helpful. So manipulating numbers in ways to make them friendly and make them easier to manipulate and calculate. So that's all that we're going to do with that today. All right, now we're going to do Minds On, and we're just going to sort of think back of what might be useful, some useful tools for today that we might need to remember before we dive into our new concepts. So it's really important to remember that in this course, we talk about money a lot. This is math for real life. And one of the places that math shows up in our real lives over and over again is through money. So it's really important to remember that money, we round to 2 decimal places. We only have cents at 2 decimal places. So for my example, I have $1.23. So it's 1.23. So you have to remember how to round properly in order to make sure that we're consistently working with 2 decimal places. So we're going to be rounding all of the time. And that's just really important to remember how to do this properly. So a reminder, if the number you are rounding is followed by 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, so 5 to 9, then you round the number up. So I have some examples. I have 28.537. So we always, with money, we are rounding to 2 decimal places, right? So we're going to be looking at the number. So the number that we are rounding to that we need to look at is 3, whereas the 1 is the number that we're going to potentially change. And we're looking at the number to the right of that. That decimal we don't want to have. And so we're deciding if that is bigger than 5, we're going to round the 3 up. So this is 7. So that means we're going to round the 3 up because it's closer to 54 cents than it is to 53 cents. And so that's why we're rounding it up. So this is going to become 28.54. And now that's all we do. So next example, 0.125304. It doesn't matter how many digits we have. For money, we're rounding it to 2 decimal places. So we have 0.12. We're only going to round it to those. So the 2 is what we're going to maybe change. And we have to look at the 5, the one that's directly to the right of the number of our 2nd decimal place. So it's always, we're looking at the 3rd decimal place. So it doesn't matter what else is happening after that. We're just looking at the third decimal place. It's a 5, that means that we're rounding up. So 0.13. Then our third example, 7.9972. So again, here we're looking at 7.99 as what we want to look at closely. So we're looking at the 7 after the second 9. So it's above 5. So we're going to round up. Well, if I round up 9 cents, then that's 10 cents. And if I round up 99 cents, then that's $1. So sometimes it impacts more than just one decimal place. So 7.99 rounded up is going to be $8. So 8.00. All right, so if the number is followed by 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then we round the number down. So this is because we're closer to the lower number. So for example, 15.912. So again, we want our 2 decimal places. So we're going to change the 1. We're looking at the 2 to see, okay, it's less than 5. So it's through 0 through 4, it's less than 5. That means that we're closer to 91 cents than we are to 92 cents. So we do 15.91 if we're rounding down. Next example, 5.86329. The 6 is what we're going to be changing. The 3 is what we're looking at because it's right after. So even though there's a 9 down here, we're looking at just at the 3, the one that's directly after the second decimal place. So it's a 3, it's less than 4. That means we round down. 4.86. A common mistake that people can make when they say that they're rounding down is they say, oh, that means I need to change the 6 to a 5 because I'm rounding down. I have to change that 6. But really, when we say we're rounding down, is that we're moving to, we're not increasing our amount. We're closer to 86 cents than we are to 87 cents. So we're rounding down to 86 cents. If we round down to 85 cents, that would be losing a whole cent. So that's important to remember. So then we have 6.99481. So then here we have 6.99 again. And we're looking at the 4. 4 is 0 through 4. So it's on the lower end. So we're rounding down. So this just stays at 6.99. We don't need to change it any other way. All right. So that's just really important to remember as we go through, because rounding can really change things. All right, active learning. Let's dive into our new concepts. The most common question I get as a teacher, particularly as a math teacher, is when will I use this in real life? This course is really, really real life focused. That is the whole premise of the course. It's math in real life is what it's called, but still it isn't necessarily just about the exact skills that we're using, the mathematical computational skills, but it's also about the brain development and the critical thinking and things. So we are strengthening our comfort with numbers as well as learning about money, but we're getting more and more comfortable with numbers because they show up in our lives all over the place. So yes, some of the skills exactly you're going to be using, knowing how to calculate paying loans and things like that are important, but you might not actually need to know all the formulas for your day-to-day life, but being comfortable with your numbers so that you can make sure that other people that no one's ripping you off of the bank is really important. So we are strengthening our comfort with numbers, and that is how you're going to use this in real life. So first, we're going to be looking at salary today. And salary, this is on page 2 of your IEL book in Unit 1. And this is your pay based on a yearly amount for a set number of days and hours. So when people talk about their salary, they're talking about how much money they make in the whole year. And it isn't, you don't have to, like, that is set by already a number of hours and days that you're always working. It's not based on if you work those hours or not. You might have sick days and things like that already built in. So examples are teachers like me, accountants, pilots, computer programmers. Lots of people work on a salary where it is set for how much you're working, how much money you make in a year. Then you get fixed payments of your salary, and they're made at regular intervals. So you know consistently when your money is coming, and it's going to be the same amount. Your salary is divided up, the whole salary divided up into a certain number of payments depending on what they have been decided upon. So common payments Intervals are monthly, so that's once a month or 12 times a year. So your salary would be divided by 12, and then you get 1/12 of your salary every month. Semi-monthly, so this is twice a year. Usually it's like the 15th and the last day of the year. It might be different depending on the employer, but generally it's in the middle of the month and the end of the month. So twice a month. So that means that it's 24 times a year. So you take your yearly salary and divide it by 24 to figure out how big those payments would be. Weekly, so every week, which is 52 times a year. So you take your salary and divide it by 52 to figure out how much it is per week. Or bi-weekly, which is every second week or 26 times a year. So that is my most common experience, is bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks is when you get paid. So you take your yearly salary and you divide it by 26 to figure out how much it is per week. Oh, sorry, per bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, my bad. All right, so example 1. Rose earns a salary of $635 biweekly, and Arlene's salary is $1,380 monthly. Assuming the jobs would be equally enjoyable, whose pay would you prefer? Explain why. So it doesn't matter, we're just looking at pay. It doesn't matter what the jobs are. We're just looking at pay. Whose pay would you prefer? Assuming that you'd want to be paid more money than less money. So to figure this out, we are going to have to do 2 steps. So we have to look at Rose. I like to organize my information, so I like to give myself little titles so that I can understand what it is that I'm talking about. And Rose earns $635 biweekly. So that means, so biweekly, as we just said, is 26 payments a year. So we're going to do 635 times 26. And you can use your calculator. If you have one, you can use calculator on your phone if that works for you, or if you have a separate calculator. If you don't have a calculator, you can also use Desmos, which I'll link in the show notes of the YouTube so that you can see. It's just desmos.com, and you go to Math Tools and then Scientific Calculator. You have this little calculator that you can just use if that's something. Sometimes it can be helpful for some more complicated things than just doing some multiplication. You can totally do this by hand or in your head if you want to, but you can also use a calculator. So 635 times 26 is equal to 16,510. So 16,510 is how much Rose makes a year. So then Arlene makes $1,380 monthly. So that's 12 times a year. So we're going to do 1,380 times 12. Again, I'm going to use my Desmos calculator. So I do 1,380 times 12 is equal to 16,560. 16,560. I have a tendency of forgetting it, so I just like to check to make sure that I got the actual right number. So now we say, okay, did we answer the question? No, we've done the calculations, but we haven't actually answered the questions, because the question was, whose pay would you prefer? And explaining why. So Arlene makes $50 more a month, so I would prefer Arlene's job. Arlene makes, I don't know why I put an apostrophe there. More money. You don't have to know how much it is. You can just say more money a month. So I prefer that job. Using a sentence to answer your questions can be really helpful to make sure that you answer the actual question that you're being asked. And it also gives you the chance to justify why you would make that choice. If you make spelling mistakes, it's not the end of the world, as long as I can understand what it is that you're saying. Spelling mistakes happen. I totally make spelling mistakes all the time. So no worries. Try to make it clear, but don't stress about your spelling. That we can work on that. I might correct you just to help you learn, but I also might not notice if I'm not paying close enough attention. So don't stress about that. All right, example 2. Ken is paid a salary of $22,000 per year for performing clerical duties at the band office. How much does he earn? See, look, I just wrote it. How much does he earn? No, how much does he earn? See, mistakes happen. Per week, and how much does he earn per month? So to figure out how much, if you know your yearly salary, you have to divide. So we do 22,000 divided by, so per week is 52, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So 22,000 divided by 52 is equal to $423. And then remember our rounding. So then 0.076. So that means it's going to be 0.078 because I'm rounding up for my decimal place. So 423.08. And per month. So there's 12 months in a year. So 22,000 divided by 12 is equal to, now some people are like, oh, I can just divide this by 4 because there's 4 weeks per month, but there isn't 4 weeks exactly per month. So if you were to do that, you wouldn't actually get the exactly accurate amount. You get something close, but it's better to use your original amount and to base it off of the number per year, because there aren't exactly 4 weeks per month. There's close, but not exactly. So 22,000 divided by 12 is equal to $1,833.33. 1833.33. All right. So that's how they would be different depending on this pay schedule. All right, so if you are watching the video on the replay, you can pause it now if you want to do the support questions on page 4. Questions 1 and 2 are, we've just sort of covered that material. If anybody here in Zoom wants to do those questions and ask any questions, or has looked at those questions and wants to ask anything, I'm going to pause for like 10 seconds to give you a chance to let me know. You can raise your hand or you can write in the chat box. And then we can touch base, but I know that folks might not want to live on the radio and record it. So we can also touch base later. So I'm just going to pause for a couple of seconds to see if anyone wants to respond. And if not, we will move on. Okay. So let's keep going. All right, so the next part of this lesson is piecework. So piecework, this is on page 3 of your OWL book. And piecework is an income based on the number of items produced or sold. So this can be a combination of, your earnings can be a combination of salary and piecework. So it might not just be 100% piecework, but you might get a base pay and then amount of, depending on how much you make or produce on top of that. Both ways are common. So really common examples of piecework are a truck driver, so how many trips you do, a telemarketer, how many sales you make or calls you make, worker in a clothing factory, so how many shirts you make can be piecework, house cleaner, so you get paid for the house as opposed to the hours that you're working, or also like being somebody who residentially like snow plows or mows lawns, like you get paid per lawn or per driveway or whatever. That's all piecework, various different ways that piecework shows up. So piecework, there are pros and cons to piecework and changes depending on if you're the employer or the employee. We're going to focus on the employee's experience because most likely at this point, we're probably are thinking about being employees opposed to having our own business and paying people by piecework, but that's something to consider as well. So the pros are, as an employee, you get to control how much you get paid based on how much you accomplish. So you know that, okay, if I do this many things, if I need to mow this many lawns, and that's how much I'm going to get paid. So you can say, okay, I need to mow more lawns, I'm going to get paid more. You get to know that, you get to control that. The cons are, if you can't work or work fast enough, you won't make a lot of money. So if you're sick, you don't get paid. If something else comes up, you don't get paid if you don't finish the work. If it's like you're working in a clothing factory and you can only make 2 shirts in a day, you're not going to get paid as much as if someone who can make 10 shirts in a day. So that can be pretty stressful. And so workers generally focus on quantity over quality. So because you get paid by how many you get done, not by how good of a job you do. So example for this is Lucas works part-time at the Canada Life Centre selling programs for Winnipeg Jets games. He's paid by Piecework. So he earns $10 per game plus 25 cents per each program he sells. How much does Lucas earn if he sells 150 programs in one game? So how we figure out this is we know that he is selling 150 programs. So we do 150. And for each program, he gets 25 cents. So we times that by 0.25. So this is just the programs of how much he's going to make based on that. So we do 150 times 0.25 equals 37.5. This is another example that I forgot about talk about in terms of money. If we have only one decimal place, then we put a 0 to make it 2 decimal places for money. So we say $37.50 opposed to 37.5. Again, money, we have to have 2 decimal places. So he earns that much money for programs, but he also earns for the game. He earns $10, right? So we have to add those two together. So that's $47.50. So Lucas makes $47.50 at that game. So you can see that really selling, depending on the number of programs he sells, is really going to change how much he makes. All right, example 4, Jamie builds wooden pallets. On Monday, they build 300 pallets and is paid 0.35, so 35 cents per pallet. What are their earnings for Monday? So for this, for this, this way to figure it out, we say, okay, so 300 pallets paid 0.35 per pallet. So again, we do 300 times 0.35, right? Because we've got 300 in total. So to calculate that, calculator's your friend. Definitely makes life easier if you have a calculator of some sort. It doesn't have to be my fancy Desmos one. It can be whatever makes sense for you. So that's $105. So their earning for Monday is 105. You don't have to put a decimal place of 00 if you don't want to. If it's just full dollars, you can leave it at full dollars. I'm fine either way. If they build 300 pallets each day, 5 days a week, what would their weekly earnings be? So then we know that it's 105 per day times 5 days a week. And that, so this one I can do in my head fairly easily because 100 times 5 is 500. $5 times 5 is 25. So it's going to be 525 is how much they earn a week. And then C, Jamie works 50 weeks a year. If they make the same number of pallets each week, how much would they earn in a year? So we know that per week they make 525. It's 50 per year. So 525 times 50 equals 26,250. 26,250. So that's how much they would earn a year if they make 300 pallets a day for 5 days a week, 50 weeks of the year. I don't know if that's possible or not. I don't know. I don't build wooden pallets. All right. Millie picks and sells blueberries by a pound at the farmer's market. She made $57 today and sold 85 pounds of berries. How much did she earn per pound of berries? So this one's a little bit different. So because we're trying to say we know how much she sold, how much money, and we know how many pounds she sold, we don't know the rate of the piecework. We don't know how much she had for each pound. Like what was she saying? This is how much a pound of berries is in terms of selling to person. We just know the total. So to figure this out, we have to say, because it's how much did she earn? So that's our money. Per means to divide, and pound. So that is our berries. So we're going to do $57 divided by 85 pounds. So 57 divided by 85 equals 0.670. So 67 cents. So Millie sold, see spelling, berries for 67 cents per pound. This can be really tricky about knowing if you're doing 85 divided by 57 or 57 divided by 85. So you have to look at the sentence and say, okay, how much did she earn per pound? So how much money per pound? If it said how many pounds per dollar, then you would do pounds divided by your dollars. So you have to really read the sentence and really understand what the sentence is asking, and that can take a bit of practice. All right, so now if you want to pause the video, you can do the support questions on page 6, questions 3 to 5. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat box. And we're going to keep plugging through because we only have a few more minutes left of our class. All right, so the last thing we're looking at today are job advertisements, sorry. So where to find job ads? In the Sioux Lookout area, you can look at job agencies like Sioux Hudson Employment. So they have a website, SiouxLookoutJobs.com. You can also look in the newspaper. Sioux Lookout Bulletin has newspapers and both has job ads both online and also on their print newspaper. You can also look at job banks. So like there's the Government Canada Job Bank, which is jobbank.gc.ca, and they might have jobs in your area depending on where you are. So those are sort of like larger, widespread and online access. You can also look at local organizations, so tribal councils, education councils, grocery stores, post offices, all sorts of places might have job postings, job ads just posted up, and you can look there. So here's an example of a job ad. So this I found through the Sioux Bulletin, through the newspaper. And so it's for, here it says Sioux Lookout First Nations Health Authority, so SLFNA. So that tells us the employer. The jobs are client services. So there's a bunch of different casual positions, and they're telling you the name of the job and then also the rate. This is going to be the hourly rate, is what I assume. So like for dietary aid, 19.707 is the hourly rate for the dietary aid. And then it says rates provided are based on starting wage. So that can change for the ones that have the asterisks, I would assume. And then it says the full ads are at slifna.com.careers. So this doesn't have a lot of information. It just tells you the job title and the hourly wage. So that doesn't really help you if you're trying to apply for that job. So if you go to this website, then they have a lot more information. I've copied that onto these slides. So I looked specifically at the housekeeping aid. It's going to be different depending on which job you looked at. So it tells you the employer, SLFNA, job summary. Under the supervision of the team leader, housekeeping aid is to meet the housekeeping needs of the hostel clients. So that gives you a little bit of an idea what the job is, not very much. And it tells you the salary rate, so 19.707 per hour, and then who can apply. So persons of First Nations ancestry will be given preference according to this policy. So that's good to know. Then if you continue to read the ad, so housekeeping aid, the applicants must possess. So these are the things that they're expecting you to have. So completed secondary education is preferred, but we'll consider life experience or skills related to this position. So they'd like you to have your high school, but if you don't, they will still consider you depending on your experience. Having experience as a housekeeper in housekeeping is an asset, so that's helpful. Ability to work on your feet all day, ability to work various shifts, ability to lift 20 pounds, must be an independent and self-motivated worker, ability to learn WMIS, which you've learned more about what that is. You didn't know, you're applying to this job, it'd be good to look that up. So those are things that you need to have. And then knowledge and ability. So these are more things that talking about the job. So daily cleaning of client rooms, residence, public office areas, following job routines, weekly, monthly, yearly cleaning routines, request supplies or pick up supplies as needed. Education component throughout the year includes health and safety, hostile department policy and procedures and training, and participate in training of new staff. So those are all the things you're expected to do. This continues, fill out maintenance or acquisition or call maintenance with concerns and equipment breakdowns, participate in and monitor quality improvement projects and audits, be available for on-call as needed, be flexible with job routines, and be challenged by new requests and ongoing changes of the job as delegated by the manager and all other duties as assigned. So that's often that these are generally what you're supposed to be doing, but you might have to do something else depending on what you're assigned. So that just sort of gives you, again, more of an outlook of what you're actually doing. So that tells you if this is a good fit for you or not. Here's another job ad that I just went to a website. And so a quick look at this. So it's an accounting assistant. The employer, again, is Wahsa Airlines. Education. So here it says you need college, SAGEP, or other non-university certificate or diploma for a program of 1 or 2 years. Experience, 1 year to less than 2 years. So you don't have to have a lot of experience, but you do need education. Here they tell you the health benefits. So healthcare plan, disability benefits, dental plan, vision care plan, benefits. So those are things that you get for working there, that you're paying into and the employer is paying into to help take care of you. Long-term benefits are group insurance benefits, life insurance, pension plan. Then the location is in Thunder Bay. The salary is $50,000 to $65,000 annually. So per year for 40 hours per week is a permanent job for day shifts, and they have a start date and some screening questions about being able to work in Canada or not. So that's just another look at a job ad. And yeah, all right, so let's consolidate what we've learned today. So we've gone through lesson 1, which again is earning an income. So first we looked at salary, and this is your pay based on a yearly amount. So it's paid in regular intervals, monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. And you need to know what those words refer to in terms of like numbers, how many per week or per year. Then we talk about piecework, which is your pay based on the number of items produced or sold. So how much you do is how much you get paid. And then we talked about job advertisements and where to find them in newspapers, job agencies, and banks, and then making sure that you understand them. It's really important so that you know what you're getting yourself into and if it's a fit for you or not. So job advertisements usually tell you your rate of pay, how much you're going to get paid, any benefits that you have, any education that you need, or experience or skills that you need. So it's really important to understand that so that you know what you're getting into. All right, so let's look at our success criteria. Hopefully this you can say yes to. So I can figure out my pay if I know the yearly salary and pay schedule, monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. 2, I can explain why I might want to or do piecework or why I might not want to. And that's going to be individual. That's going to be different for different people. Are going to have different needs, and what's going to fit in their life is going to be different. So totally fine to have different answers for these sorts of questions, but you need to justify why that works for you. 3, I can find job advertisements and explain all the important parts. So being able to understand a job ad is really, really important if you are planning on working, so that you know what you're getting into and what's going to be a good fit for you and what's not going to be a good fit. All right, so we're going to do a few more practice problems because we have a couple more minutes. So here, number 1, determine the missing information for each salaried worker. So we're just going to do one of these. So let's do it backwards. So if we have weekly, so Akil, we know is weekly for 560. So in order to go back to annually, we'd have to do 560 times 52. So if I do that on my Desmos, 560 times 52, that's equals to 2,920. So that's what Akil's annual salary would be. 29,120. And then to figure out monthly, we would take that 29,120 and divide it by 12. So 29,120 divided by 12 would mean that the monthly pay would be $2,426.67. 2426.67. Monthly. So the same idea, you would have to figure out for the other two, depending on which way you're moving, if you were multiplying or dividing. All right, number 2, orchid employees employ workers to prune trees. They pay the workers from $2 to $3 per tree for their service. During Malik's first week of work, he prunes 150 trees at $2 per tree. What is his earning for this week? So we know that it's 150 trees. It's piecework, so it's times $2 per tree. So that's going to be $300 for that week. Milan is experienced at pruning trees. He prunes 300 trees at $250 per tree in 1 week. What is his earnings for the week? So he has 300 trees. Sorry, this shouldn't be dollars there. This is the dollars, not the trees. 300 times 250. So that we can do on our calculator. 300 times 250. Oops. Is $750. So you can see that it can really be different depending on your experience and how much you earn. So why might the rate range from $2 per tree? So why during Malik's first week, he only gets $2 per tree, whereas Milan gets $250 per tree. So I think that this is for motivation to prune more trees, to prune faster. Because the better you get, the faster you get, the more money you make.
If you have any questions, now that we've completed lesson 1, please contact me. Give me a call at the office at 807-737-1488 or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Send me an email at bronwyn.slate. That's BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook at Wahsa. And remember, all of our lessons will be up on YouTube at Wahsa. It's the name of the channel there. And there's a playlist for MEL3E where all of our course materials will be posted. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me today. Miigwech.